All right, next tab that's going to pop up. Again, it's going to show you what you've named it. If you forgot to name the ad set, you can do it here. This is where you need to choose your page. If you are only running ads for yourself on your one Facebook business page, that will show up here automatically. If, however, you have multiple pages that you are running ads for, you need to just remember to make sure you choose the correct page, because it's always going to pick one to default to, and if you forget to change it, it will run your ad under that page, whether or not the ad is associated with that page. So you want to make sure you choose the right page, and this is where you're going to set the start and end date for your campaign. So you want to give it a range, I would say probably at least 5 days, because when you first start running your campaign, it usually takes the computer a minimum of 2 to 3 days to figure out where to find that best customer that you are going to designate. So if you run it shorter than that, it's not going to be anywhere near as effective. Oh, I'm already reading past this. And you can set this for the future. So if you want to schedule all of your campaigns for the month or for even the next 2 months at one time, go ahead and put them in here and put the start dates of each one. The nice thing about doing that in advance is that your ad will get approved right away, and then it'll just stay and it'll wait to start. Otherwise, if you want an immediate start, it won't start until it's actually approved. All right, so let's get into building this audience, because this is usually what is going to determine whether or not you run a great campaign. So as I said, the first things that you have to designate up here is the location of where you are, the age of the person you want to reach, and what their gender is. These last two things are optional if you want to do detailed targeting or if you want to put it into a different language. But these first three things you must choose. And you see, if we just leave it for the entire United States, 18 and above in every gender, then you've got quite a big campaign to reach over here. It's going to cost you a lot of money. So the nice thing though is keep an eye on this little chart that's over to the right. Every time you add more targets, you're going to see that number change. So let's start by talking about location. So when you create a location, you can do it multiple ways. The one that is most common is to add the cities or the towns that you want to reach. And then once you add those, like for example, Chicago, you can click here and you can choose anywhere from 1 mile to 50 miles around that town. So this is a really simple way to say, well, I'm in Chicago. I want to reach people who are within 25 miles of my location. You can do it this way. Or you can enter individual zip codes. If you know, for example, that most of your sales come from these top 10 zip codes, use those in here. And then the potential reach, again, is going to change. So again, paying attention over here, if we picked 25 miles around Chicago, and that's it, as far as targeting, we're going to reach up to 4.9 million people. We'll tell you right now that's too many people in order for you to target. So you're going to use some additional targeting in order to drop that down. You also have a little option down here called drop pin. And if you click on that and then you click in a certain area, it just puts that pin right there. So if you say, I don't know what all these towns are that are between Elgin and Waukegan, but I want to reach them too, you can just drop a pin right there, say 10 miles around, it's going to add another circle into your list. So for ages, again, you can choose age 13 and up. So your first number is going to be the lowest age that you want. The second number is going to be the top end of the target. So if you want to reach people older than 50, you would choose 50 and then 65 plus, because that's the highest that it goes. The second thing you want to choose is gender. If you have a specific product or service that you definitely want to reach one gender or the other, you choose it here. If it can be for anyone, you just leave it as all. So if you see right now, my campaign says 50 miles around Chicago, people 50 and up, any gender, and already now we're down to only 1.3 million people. So that's actually getting a lot more reasonable. All right, so let's go into each of these in a little bit more detail, because there are a lot of choices here. So for example, under demographics, you're going to see a tab that says education, finances, life events, parents, relationships, or work. And when you expand these, there are more choices under each of these. So I am going to encourage you to target narrowly, but don't necessarily hyper target. You do want to keep an eye on this reach over here. And you really, in order for a campaign to be successful, you should be reaching approximately 100,000 to 300,000 people. That's where it's enough people to find the people you want to look in. And it's not too specified so that the computer can't find any of the people because you're only giving it 10,000 people to look at. So this is what lives under demographics. And under education, you can choose things like, you know, have you completed high school? Do they have a master's degree? Do they have a PhD? Financial is really important because this allows you to actually target people by their income. And it's going to be blocks of income. Do note, however, that that is one of the things that disappears if you are targeting anything to do with housing or employment. You can no longer target by financial. So if you go in there and everything is grayed out, that's because it's not an option with the targeting that you chose. Life events are like, did they just get married? Did they have a baby? Did they have an anniversary? Parents can be broken down by ages of their children, which is very helpful. Relationships are just, are they married? Are they engaged? Are they single? And work is a lot of choices for things that they would be declaring as what they do for work. All right, so let's break these down a little bit more. So under business and industry, these have different industry names. So if you have an app that is targeted towards the banking industry, you can choose that in here. If you want to talk to people who do certain things for entertainment. So let's say you're selling a video game, you're going to want to choose people who like to play games. If you are having an event that you want people to go to in person, you would choose people who like live events. So these are examples of that. Under TV, you're going to get what genres they like. The same thing with reading and music and movies. You're going to be able to break that down by horror movies or different genres like that. These are examples of family and relationships that you can choose if you want people who are dating, if you're selling a dating app, if you want people that say they are part of a family, if they say they're a dad, if that's one of your great targets, if they're married. So you have lots of individual targeting that's going on under here. All right, here's a few more of them. Fitness and wellness underneath here lives everything from distinctive things that they want to do when they exercise. Are they into running or weight training? Do they box? Food and drink. There are a lot of choices for different alcoholic beverages. So if you want people who like to drink wine, is a different target than possibly if you want to target people who like to drink beer. Those are just different personalities. Same thing for cooking. Do they love cooking? Do they like a certain sort of cuisine? And then under hobbies, what are their hobbies? So are they into pets? If you're selling a pet product, you obviously want to use this. But also, if you are renting an apartment that has a great pet park that's right outside, maybe you also want to target people who own pets. Certain places that they like to travel. I will tell you guys that the best way to utilize all of these interests is if you put a Google Analytics code into your website. Because when you go in there and you pull your data for the month as to who's visiting your website, it's going to tell you outright some of these things. It's going to tell you, oh, 60 people who visited your website this week like cooking, or they really like gardening. You may not know that yet about your clients. So this is a great way to find out how to target in here. Okay, we've got a ton of questions. Okay, so I'm going to go over these really quickly. What is your advice for ads that are all text? You must put the text in the content and not in the picture. Your ad will not run if you have more than 20% of text in your picture. The kicker to that is it may not tell you that it's not going to run. It will just deliver your campaign to way fewer people. So that's one of the things that you have to be aware of. All right, so we got that. Let me close that up. All right, let's move to the next one. Shopping and fashion. This is a great place to target people who do shop online. You can target it by what they purchase. So again, don't necessarily think of just your product. So if you sell really high-end shoes, you may want to go in here and target people who like high-end beauty, because that might be the same person. Same thing for sports. If you think of your customer, what type of sports would they most likely be watching on TV? And then for tech, this is a great way, you know, if you want to target people who are into really expensive cameras, you can do that in here. You can also break down what sort of computers they use. So, for example, if you are targeting an older population, you may want to target people who own desktop computers, because that is going to be targeted towards a bigger, a higher age group. So again, try to think just beyond what it is that you're actually selling. All right, so other things, an anniversary. So if you want to target people, if you have a great restaurant and you do something special for somebody's anniversary, go ahead and click people who have an anniversary coming up in the near future. This is if you want to talk to people who are living in the United States but have a connection to other countries. This is a great way to do that. And digital activities get even more detailed. Let's say that you have people who are using Facebook payments. So that's a great way to know about if someone buys things online. If they have used Facebook payments in the last 30 or 90 days, that means they buy stuff. So if you're selling e-commerce, you're going to want to target people like that. And again, there's so much more under each of these, but I'm just trying to go through some of the important ones. All right, so the next thing after you've done all of your audience choices are going to be placements. So you have two different choices. One is automatic placements and one is manual placements. If you choose manual placements, you will get a choice of all the possible platforms that you could reach. So if you only want to talk to people who are on Facebook, then you just choose Facebook. If you want Facebook and Messenger, you can choose those things. My best recommendation is to leave it on automatic. The reason that we're running campaigns through the ads manager is because we know that the computer is going to be able to find our customers better than we are. And when you use automatic placements, that's what it relies on. So just believe in the fact that if you've loaded all this great information in there, let the computer find out where they are. They may be on Facebook, they may be on Instagram, they may be on Messenger, but it doesn't matter. The computer will find them for you. So optimization is, again, what it will put in here what you chose as the optimization at the beginning of your campaign. So if you chose link clicks, this would say traffic. If you wanted to reach the most people possible, this says reach. So this is kind of just reminding you again what you optimized your budget for. I'm going through these quicker